Hello, welcome to Video Mania 2. Duncan here. I'm going to talk about Reminiscence today, starring Hugh Jackman and Rebecca Ferguson, and it was directed by Lisa Joy, who runs a TV show on HBO called Westworld. She had a lot to do with that. I'm not familiar with her work, but I'm going to start to learn more about her because this movie really captured me in many ways. I want to talk about it right now. Reminiscence takes place in the future in Miami and New Orleans, and the water has really risen because of global warming, so the ice caps have melted. So now it's kind of like Venice in a way. You know, people take boats to get around. That's not uncommon at all. And so everybody kind of lives above ground since the ground isn't there anymore. It's water. So anyway, the world kind of struggles. There's, the haves and the have-nots, and you have, people are just kind of making do with what they can, doing the best they can given the circumstances. But there is some, a lot of underlying tension there. Now, Hugh Jackman plays Nick Bannister, and he's kind of a shrink in a way that he has this technology. There was another war that really brought things to a head as well, and he's an ex-soldier, and they developed this technology in interrogation where they can really put you in this tank and dig out your memories. But now, because the world is so bleak and everybody's so down, and because people lose loved ones, they can go back and relive those experiences now as much as they want. And that's what he does. He gives you a nostalgia trip where you feel like you're really there and you're with your loved ones again, or you're back wherever you were before the world went bad. So it gives you something to look forward to in the bleak world now. So that's what you do. Instead of like reminiscing in your head or whatever, you can go and actually experience it again in better times. So it's something to keep people going. So this movie explores that, like, is this worth it, or are people spending too much time in here, living in the past? So it's very powerful themes, and it's a very original story. Now, Hugh Jackman's character, Bannister, meets a woman played by the lovely Rebecca Ferguson. She is great here. And he has an assistant played by, she used to be called Tandy Newton. Now she goes by her original name, Tendiwe. I'm not sure, so I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. But she's in here too, so you got two Mission Impossible girls in the same movie. So anyway, but Rebecca Ferguson here is stunning, and her character captures you, and it captures Nick Bannister too, and Hugh Jackman portrays that really well. So it turns out this movie is not told in a linear way, so you have to stay with it. And it's kind of a slow burn, so you have to stay with it in that respect too, because at times I kind of wanted to tune out, but I was like still caught up in it. Now, as he learns more, this woman just disappears, so he's been spending time in the tank, remembering the great times he had with her because the world sucks. So, but people are concerned about him, and he stumbles upon, he's brought in by the district attorney, when they capture criminals or something, he can dig into their minds, and he sees this girl again. And so he's on a mission now, this obsession, he is just obsessed with finding out what happened, the love of his life, or so he thinks. He learns things about her he kind of wishes he didn't, so it explores that. I mean, do you really want to know, or should you just let it go? Those themes are explored here. This film is very ambitious, and it has very powerful themes that really resonate. It kind of stuck with me after the movie was over. Now, as I said, this movie's a slow burn, and when I looked on Rotten Tomatoes and I looked at other things, it's very divided, and that does not surprise me. This movie is not going to be for everybody, but I got to applaud Warner Brothers for giving it the green light. And Lisa Joy, I'd like to see more work from her. This was good stuff. It had a bit of a feel, obviously Blade Runner, and maybe a little bit of Inception, but I also noticed some parts from Minority Report and Paycheck, and all Blade Runner, Minority Report, and Paycheck were all based off short stories by Philip K. Dick. And so this movie wasn't based off one of his stories, but it felt like it. It could have been. So these were all there. And since this film was kind of divided, but it stuck with me, and I really think people need to watch it twice, because I watched a movie a long time ago with Bruce Willis called 12 Monkeys, and the first time I watched it, I was like, huh? It's one of those you have to see again, because there's these quick characters that are very important, but it's just flashed by, hey, remember that? And then it's really quick. So I was paying close attention. I picked up most of it, but I think there's a lot more stuff I didn't pick up, so I'm probably going to watch it again. But this movie shared powerful themes about, should you move on? Is this reminiscence technology real? Is it good for us? All of that is really played in there, and I loved it, and it's beautifully shot. I mean, it was a mixture of beauty and bleakness. The production design was amazing, and the themes and the performances. Rebecca Ferguson was really good. Now, this movie, I think it wouldn't surprise me. It may be forgotten about, but it wouldn't surprise me if people talk about it in years to come. Like Highlander, the original Highlander movie, went to the theaters, didn't do anything. Now, it became a classic in many people's eyes years later as it picked up, and it wouldn't surprise me if this movie does that, where people look back on it. Because remember the original Blade Runner, when it first came out, not a whole lot, but it's considered a groundbreaking science fiction movie now. And this one maybe could be too, but right now it's not doing too well, and financially. And HBO Max, where I watched it, I don't know, they're not going to release a streaming number, so I don't know if a lot of people tuned in or not. But I'm glad I did. I liked it. I'm going to watch it again, because I think there's some just amazing themes, and I've always been critical of Hollywood not doing original ideas, and here they did one. And so the acting's great. It's A-list cast. So overall, I really liked it. One thing that would really, the flawed here is, all these themes that people all generally seem to be intrigued by. Some of the execution was a little off. That's why I may watch it again, see if I missed something. But the thing here I'd be curious about is when it comes out on Blu-ray or 4K or whatever, are they going to have a director's cut? Because I'd be really curious if there's additional footage on the floor that maybe explains some of this a little more. Now, I'm not saying I want a 4-hour cut of it. I don't think it's too slow of a burn for that. But if there was an extra 10 minutes, I'd be really curious if Warner Brothers decides to do that on a Blu-ray release, because I'd be really interested in a director's cut if, it's just like 10 or 15 minutes, no more than 15 minutes, but, that would be really interesting to me. So maybe that'll happen, but what do you think in the comments? Did you like it? Do you think it'll be talked about in the years to come? I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, because I was really captivated by it in a lot of ways. So I'll give it 4 out of 5 stars, because the themes were amazing and the production design was great, and it was an original story. Where I deduct is the execution and that need to watch twice, but it's an interesting sci-fi noir mystery. There is some action in it, but not a ton, so you have to stay with it a little bit. But overall, I liked it, and I'm glad I watched it. So let me know in the comments if you're going to check it out, what you thought of it. And I'll see you next time.